All right, joining me once again here on the Matthew Filipowicz Show is Katie Valentine. Katie is a climate reporter for Think Progress, which you can find at thinkprogress.org. You can also follow her on Twitter at Katie R. Valentine. Katie, thank you so much for being on the show again.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so Katie, most progressives have at least a bit of an idea of the dangers of hydrofracking when it comes to contaminating water. You actually wrote a piece recently at Think Progress on how we're actually just finding out about a shocking number of times that fracking contamination has happened in the state of Pennsylvania. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so it looks like Pennsylvania, for the first time has made public more than 240 cases of contamination of drinking water from oil and gas drilling. These are like private wells that have been contaminated from fracking and drilling operations. And this is the first time Pennsylvania has done this. It's kind of people have thought that their water has been contaminated, but there hasn't been like a public acknowledgement from the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection that this contamination has occurred. So this is really the first time that Pennsylvania is coming out and acknowledging that fracking is contaminating people's drinking water.
It's really it's shocking. It's like 243 cases of it, correct?
Right. Yeah, 243.
So let's dig into this a little bit. What is the time frame that these cases were happened? And just, for me, it just sort of seems pretty infuriating that all this contamination has happened and people are just kind of finding out about it now and getting confirmation of what has actually happened now. So what's sort of the time frame when it comes to all these cases?
The time frame, actually, I'm not totally sure of. I know that the cases were over the course of 22 counties, so it's pretty widespread in the state. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I know the article that I wrote mentioned somebody that was from the Pennsylvania Sierra Club, and he was saying that this is great that this happened, but it's kind of too little too late. Pennsylvania should have been acknowledging that this contamination was happening months ago, years ago, when it was happening, because the people that live in Pennsylvania have a right to know that these operations could contaminate their drinking water. So yeah, like this person said, it was a step in the right direction, but, Pennsylvania's shale boom started, I think it was 6 years ago, so this has kind of been a long time coming for the state.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And then when you think about the fact that, fracking isn't just obviously happening in Pennsylvania, it's happening all over the country. And it's like, I think we sort of get these kind of, every now and then you'll hear us, obviously most of the big horror stories of like people's faucets being lit on fire, right? And like you can actually light the faucets on fire because there's so much gas in the groundwater. It really is the sort of, it's pretty clear that there's certainly not on a nationwide level, and again, like if Pennsylvania is just finally bringing this forward, it's certainly probably not having on a state level either, that when these disasters happen and people are potentially, the health problems that are caused by this, there's something pretty wrong where if so many of these instances can actually happen and people are just finding out about it now, it seems pretty damning, and also something that really there actually needs to be a lot of action taken to make the reporting happen faster, one would think.
Yeah, definitely. And you're right, it's not just Pennsylvania. All sorts of states that have fracking have this type of thing has been documented in other states, especially with fracking wastewater. I think I read a report a while back that said something like fracking wastewater had contaminated water in New Mexico multiple times. There's just multiple cases of that happening in that state. So yeah, it's definitely a nationwide thing where fracking is occurring. But Pennsylvania seems to really be on the forefront of this fracking battle. It's got a lot of shale gas, and it seems like there's a lot of struggles between citizens and the local government in trying to make fracking more transparent and trying to make, studies of health effects of fracking more, transparent and just happen in general. So it's definitely become one of those states that's been a kind of battleground over fracking.
Do we know so say you're someone in Pennsylvania and all of a sudden, again, like this is something that this report just came out now that the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection just released all these, 243 cases. So, you're at your house, you get a glass of water and something tastes wrong about it. And who knows, maybe it's been tasting wrong for months now and you've been drinking this water. Do we know what in Pennsylvania and actually for the rest of the country, what recourse do people have if their drinking water is contaminated? I mean, do they have? I mean, again, we don't even know theoretically there hasn't been enough studies to actually find out what the long-term health effects of this on drinking fracked water and contaminated water might be. It can't be good because the chemicals that they pump into the ground to actually do fracking are pretty crazy when you consider the fact that they're inserting all these chemicals in the ground to move the shale around and actually move the ground. The process of hydrofracking is pretty intense, and to actually be drinking some of that, what actually recourse do people have if they're actually finding out that, I've been drinking this fracked water all along?
Yeah, I think it's really hard for people, when that happens to people, for people to have kind of justice. I know my colleague Emily has written about a couple of cases where families have sued the state or sued a fracking company because they think that they've been sickened by fracking contaminated water. But it's really hard for these families to prove with the companies, kind of fighting against them that it's the fracking that contaminated their water. So it's difficult for, justice to kind of be had in these situations. But yeah, I mean, hopefully with with Pennsylvania acknowledging that this has been happening, that these families that have had their water contaminated might have some sort of recourse.